All right, let's talk about something that has probably haunted every single one of us at some point. A real mystery from the depths of algebra class. Yeah, why is it always x? Seriously, think about it. Whenever there's a missing number or we have to solve for some unknown variable, it's x this, x that. Who even decided that? And why x?
I mean, why not? Why not solve for A or Q or my personal favorite, Bob? Well, it turns out the answer isn't some deep, complicated mathematical secret. It's actually an amazing story about language, history, and, well, a total accident.
To figure this out, we have to rewind the clock, way back, long before your math teacher was giving you headaches. Scholars in the medieval Islamic world were absolute masters of algebra, solving complex equations and really laying the foundation for so much of modern math. So when these brilliant mathematicians were working and came across a number they didn't know yet, an unknown quantity, they had a word for it. They called it al-shay. And al-shay literally just means the thing. That's right. One of the most important ideas in all of mathematics started with scholars basically shrugging and saying, look, we don't know what this is, so let's just call it the thing. It's so simple, right? But this is where our story starts to get really interesting. Okay, so as all this amazing knowledge started spreading from the Arab world into Europe, it had to be translated. A lot of that work was happening in medieval Spain, and that's where scholars translating these Arabic texts ran into a bit of a problem. Here's the catch. The word shay starts with a sh sound, like in shoe or show. That sound just doesn't exist in Spanish. So the translators were completely stuck. I mean, how are you supposed to write down a sound that your language doesn't even make? Well, they came up with a really clever workaround. They borrowed from the Greek alphabet. They figured the closest sound they had was kind of like a cluck sound, which in Greek is represented by the letter chi, which, as you can see, looks a whole lot like a curvy X. So shay, the thing, started being written down as the Greek letter chi. So fast forward a little bit. When these texts got translated again, this time into Latin, which was the language all scholars in Europe used, that Greek chi was just swapped out for its closest looking cousin in the Latin alphabet, our good old friend, the letter X. And just like that, the thing became X. But believe it or not, the story isn't over yet. For our final plot twist, we're jumping ahead to Renaissance France and to one of the most important inventions in history, the printing press. This new tech was about to make X a global superstar, and not for some fancy academic reason, but for a very, very practical one. See, back in the day, when you were printing a book, you had a physical set of metal letters, and you had a limited number of each one. Now, in the French language, the letter X is barely used at all. So this meant that printers pretty much always had a huge pile of leftover X's just sitting there. So when a math book full of unknown variables needed printing, what was the easiest, cheapest, most available letter they could grab? You got it. Just let that sink in. The universal symbol for the unknown, one of the cornerstones of modern mathematics, was basically standardized because it was convenient for printers. It wasn't some grand, thoughtful decision. It was just a practical, you could almost say lazy choice. It's a pretty wild example of how technology can shape our world in ways you'd never expect. So there you have it, the whole incredible, accidental journey. It starts as al-shay, the thing in the Islamic Golden Age. It gets fumbled in translation in Spain and becomes the Greek key. That then gets simplified to the Latin X, which gets mass-produced by French printers because they had a bunch of them lying around. And that is how X became the symbol we all know and, well, the symbol we all know today. And so, in the end, X became the undisputed king of variables. It's the go-to symbol for the unknown, and it reigns supreme over every equation in every single classroom all around the world. But what this whole story really shows us is that X wasn't chosen because it was special. It didn't have some deep, hidden mathematical meaning. It didn't fight its way to the top. It just got incredibly lucky, stumbling through history from one language to another until it just happens to land in the right place at the exact right time. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it, if something as fundamental and logical as X in algebra is just the result of a series of historical accidents. What other parts of our world are built on the same kind of luck? What else do we take for granted that's really just the product of a happy accident? Something to think about.